Commissioners, welcome to the March 31st, 2026 meeting of the Clark County Charter Review Commission. If you would please join me in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Commissioners. Jake, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Adeguame.
Present.
Commissioner Donnelly.
Here.
Commissioner LeBrant.
Here.
Commissioner Erickson.
Here.
Commissioner Garber.
Here.
Commissioner Hamlet.
Here.
Commissioner Chrisley.
Chrisley, aye.
Commissioner Landisberg.
Here.
Commissioner Jay.
Here.
Commissioner Klein.
Here.
Commissioner Gasquet.
Here.
Commissioner Holmgren.
Here.
Commissioner Benton.
Here.
Vice Chair Haas.
Here.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. We'll next seek approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by
Can we-
Commissioner Klein, seconded by Commissioner Hamlick.
One minor corrections, just to change the day of the week. Actually, you did change it, didn't you? It's just on our paper version. It's the wrong date. Very good.
Correct. It has been updated online. It is just the printed versions that are in error.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda in its current format. Are there any opposed? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. Thank you. We'll next move to open public comment. Jay, can you let us know who is signed up?
All right, we have 4 signed up in the room, Chair. Mark Gasaway is first.
Okay, before we start with specific comments, could you please put up the notice and I will read that. All right. Persons addressing the commission will make statements or remarks that, thank you. Persons addressing the commission will not make statements or remarks that concern private activities, lifestyles, or beliefs of others, including individual county employees, elected officials, topics unrelated to the business of the Charter Review Commission, or professional duties and performance of county employees or employees of its elected officials. People addressing the commission will refrain from conduct, statements, or remarks that are defamatory to the commission staff, uncivil, rude, vulgar, profane, or otherwise disruptive, to conducting Charter Review Commission business. The chair may ask individuals making such prohibited statements or remarks or engaging in such conduct to leave the meeting. Courtesy, professionalism, and respect will be maintained at all times during Charter Review Commission meetings. And I also add that each speaker is allowed 3 minutes, and that at the end of 3 minutes, the microphone will automatically be cut off. Thank you. So with that, Jake, could you please let us know the order of people who signed up?
Mark Gasaway.
Jake, could you please start the timer?
Good evening, Commission. I want to take this opportunity to introduce myself to you. My name is Mark Gasaway. I'm the Finance Director for Clark County, Washington. I've been with the county for over 22 years and the Finance Director for 14 now. I'm happy to announce this will be my final year as the Finance Director, and we'll move on from that. One of the responsibilities that we have in financial services is to provide the citizens of Clark County with the financial information of the county, primarily through financial reports. And there's a team of us here today to explain a little bit about that and offer our services to the commission to help with financial information as it may pertain to this commission. And so I'm going to invite up my colleague, Mitchell Kelly, and he's going to introduce himself and then tell a little bit about what he does as far as financial reports go.
Thank you. We'll treat each set of comments individually. So Jake, if you could restart the timer.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Mitchell Kelly. I serve as the Reporting and Analysis Manager for Clark County. In this role, I oversee the general ledger and ensure compliance with key financial reporting standards. This includes adherence to generally accepted accounting principles, as well as requirements set by Governmental Accounting Standard Board. In addition, we comply with the Washington State Auditor's Budgeting, Accounting, and Reporting System standards. I've been with the county for 10 years and have served in this role for the past 7 years. We also follow best practices established by the Government Finance Officers Association to ensure our financial reporting is transparent, accurate, and accessible to the public. Each year, our team prepares the annual comprehensive financial report. This report is independently audited by the Washington State Auditor's Office to ensure full compliance with all applicable standards and regulations. Clark County has consistently demonstrated excellence in financial reporting. We are proud to have received the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association for the past 45 years. This recognition reflects our commitment to providing clear, thorough, and high-quality information. The full annual comprehensive financial report is over 250 pages, and I'm not going to read that because I don't have enough time, but is available if you'd like on the county website for public review. To make this information more accessible, we also produce what's called a popular annual financial report. This summarizes key financial data in a more concise and user-friendly format. Today, I've brought copies of the 2024 Popular Annual Financial Report for your review, along with the preliminary fourth quarter financial report for 2025 that was also provided to Council. We are currently in the process of preparing the 2025 financial report, and we'd gladly share that with you at a later time. The purpose of these reports is to provide decision makers, stakeholders, and the public with information needed to make informed decisions and ensure continued financial stability for Clark County. If you have any questions about Clark County's financial condition or reporting, I would be happy to assist the commission with anything they need.
Thank you very much.
Larry Stafford. Oh,
You already spoke. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Can we show them a little grace? I think they intended to present helpful information.
That makes
before.
sense. Yeah, that's
kind of
fine.
a team.
So you have a minute and a half left.
Perfect.
Let's do that. Thank you.
I just wanted to comment with the commission. In following the Charter Review Commission's work, we've noted that several of the proposed amendments that you have might have a financial impact on the county. And so what we are doing today is offering our expertise in helping you understand what the financial impact of those proposals might be. One of the things that we want to explain to you about the county is the primary source of revenue and expense in the county is the general fund. We have many funds at the county, but the general fund is the fund that is the primary focus of what we wanted to talk about today. The general fund, it's also the primary source of support for all of the law and justice activities that we have at the county. Currently, those law and justice responsibilities include the sheriff's office, the courts, corrections, jail services, prosecuting attorney, public defense. So all of those are what we consider law and justice, and they're all part of the general fund. Currently, the general fund, 75% of the general fund is paying the cost of law and justice, where 25% of it is administrative or support services, central support services to help all of those other departments. In 2025, for the first time, we had more expenditures than we did revenue.
I'm going to make one comment, sorry. So the balance of your minute and a half is expired.
Okay.
So if you continue to go, you're welcome to, but I understand that you wanted to yield that time to one of your colleagues.
And I'm just wrapping up right now.
Okay.
So keeping that in mind, as you go through and consider what the fiscal impacts of further amendments to the county charter would be, we would like to offer the help of financial services in providing what financial information you may need to help support those activities. And so then we can go to.
And I would just like to suggest that as Mr. Gasaway and the other personnel that are here are speaking as county staff, that, I mean, maybe you want to reorder the agenda or just have them speak later, but the portion of the agenda that is for open public comment, I don't think quite fits when we're talking about comments by staff, which of course Mr. Gasaway is, and his colleagues here are here as county staff to inform and help the commission. So I would suggest either reordering the agenda so that it comes in under comments by staff and then the time limit doesn't apply, or if just they want to hold on for just a moment and speak during that time limit, during that period of the agenda. But I don't think the 3-minute time for open public comment is really ought to be applicable here.
Well, we'll continue on. We've already proceeded this far. I was alerted ahead of time that these comments would be coming, and with the intent that would happen during the open public comment portion of our meeting. So that was the intent. We're acting on it, and I would suggest that we continue on as we've started.
All right, thank you, Commission. My name is Larry. My name is Larry Stafford. I've been with the financial services team for about 15 years. I'm the incoming finance director with Mark's retirement being announced. Was previously the audit services manager. And I want to talk to you very quickly about our audit services team, just to let you folks know what kind of work they've done and which is also available. So Clark County Code 2.14 covers internal audit, which we also call audit services. It authorizes 2 types of work, analytical reviews that were authorized in 1979 and performance audits that were authorized in 1999. So the county's been doing this work for a while. Our team, the audit services team, conducts about 15 to 20 analytical reviews each year, covers receipting functions, cash equivalents. We go out, we see a lot of folks in the county. We issue memos internally and then a public summary report that's on our website every year. And we conduct and issue 1 to 2 large performance audits every year. Clark County Code requires that those comply with generally accepted government auditing standards. And so those standards require quite a bit of work to ensure that we have sufficient appropriate evidence and that we've gone through all the steps that we need to have solid conclusions and recommendations. Those topics have included over the years staffing, overtime, public works, capital project delivery. We also, if you also look in the Clark County Code 2.14, it talks about the Audit Oversight Committee, which is the group that helps prioritize audits for the audit services team. That group, their responsibilities includes a member of the council, who's currently chair marshal. And so we do a risk assessment every other year, and that information is shared with that group, who then helps us prioritize those audit topics. And that's what our team focuses on for performance audits. And I would just note, we've had 6 of our performance audits recognized nationally as being one of the top 3 in the nation for governments our size. So outside of that, I also want to share that we do conduct liaison duties with the Washington State Auditor's Office. You probably heard that they're very active in the county. Every year they conduct 3 audits, our financial statement audit, our federal single audit, and an accountability, which is compliance with rules and contracts, everything the county's involved in. And we do liaison work with the accountability, the compliance piece to help departments understand what the auditors are saying sometimes and to help the auditors understand what the county's doing. So we're very involved and very active across the county. And I see my time is up, but I do want to reiterate that we are here to support you. And if you have any interest, please do reach out.
Thank you.
The only other person signed up is Council Chair Sue Marshall, and I'm assuming she's going to want her full 15 minutes later in the agenda. I don't see any hands from our attendees online, so that concludes public comment.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate those who shared comments with us today. Thank you. We'll next move on to executive committee reports. Start with,
Chair.
I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Okay, we will seek approval of our minutes. Are there any proposed revisions to the minutes? Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Chair. It was my understanding that it was the intent to capture actual votes by commissioners on the minutes, but on this one, it just has the total number.
You're talking about for the second reading vote?
Yes, sir.
We did take a roll call vote. Are you asking if the minutes should reflect the roll call vote?
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't know that we specifically addressed how that would be recorded in the minutes themselves. It was agreed that we would take a roll call vote, but the manner in which those roll call votes were recorded wasn't explicitly discussed. Commissioner Klein.
Commissioner, how, relative to his comment and his question, how else would the public or any of us go back and refresh our memories rather than listening through the entire meeting, how the votes went? I think that it'd be most concise and accurate to record these in the minutes. And I would like to move that be part of our practice going forward.
Okay, so right now we're dealing with these minutes. So is your motion, Commissioner Klein, to amend these minutes to reflect the actual results of the roll call vote?
Yes, Chair.
Okay.
I'll second that, Commissioner. Sorry.
Okay. So it has been moved and seconded that the minutes be amended with respect to the way in which the second reading votes are recorded, specifically to have those identified by, I think the intent of the motion was to identify votes by names of commissioners. Is that correct?
Yes, aye, nay, and abstain
Okay.
for this and going forward on all meeting minutes.
Okay, we'll treat the future minutes separately, but for now, is there any discussion on this amendment to the minutes? Commissioner Landisberg.
I would like to suggest that we defer ruling on these minutes and give Commissioner Garber a chance, or whoever's doing the minutes, to amend them so that we can come back next week and approve both this one and next week's.
Well, I don't think we're going to go back and amend the minutes unless we decide that as a body that we want to. So right now, the motion on the floor is to decide if we are going to amend the minutes in the way Commissioner Klein is motioning.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Selwyn.
Just to speak in favor of the motion, I think it would be easy if we could just create a 15 box grid across that, and you could just indicate yes votes in the affirmative, knowing that they would correspond to the counselor and positions. I think it's a good idea to do that. I don't think it would be much more work for adding to the minutes, and it would keep it simple if we just had that standard.
Commissioner LeBrant.
Just maybe playing devil's advocate, but I'm wondering if it might be a little more digestible if we were to include that in the kind of the grid that we have for tracking the various amendment proposals. As far as like on the, if I'm understanding correctly, particularly on like the second reading, what the ayes, nays, and abstentions are for those so that they're all kind of coalesced in one spot.
Can you clarify, are you referring to how they're shown in the minutes?
I'm referring to how they would be recorded. So recorded in that ongoing tracking sheet that we have, as opposed to in the body of the minutes.
Okay, well, the motion on the floor right now, that understood, the motion on the floor right now is to amend the minutes in a certain manner. So we'll dispose of that first before we could entertain that suggestion later. Commissioner Lagwami, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to express my opposition to the amendment to the motion. I do believe there are better ways to capture this without making our minutes so exhaustively long by including every single tally by commissioner. I think that makes the minutes way too long. And there are much better ways to capture that data.
Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Chair. An alternative, if we want to capture it, could just be 3 bullet points. One that says voted in favor, and then list the commissioners' names, voted against, list commissioners' names, abstain, list commissioners' names, absent if needed, list commissioners' names. And it would only add 4 bullet points, which wouldn't make the minutes too unwieldy.
So I think that the motion on the floor is to make the minutes identifiable as to how each commissioner voted. The format, the specific format, I think is something that could be considered either with the staff or with the executive committee. But I think the intent really is to document how commissioners voted. Is that correct? Okay. So for clarification purposes, Commissioner Chrisley, I'll come back to you in just a second. Let's perhaps not focus on the detailed formatting, but we're focusing on the motion as to whether or not the names will be recorded specifically. Commissioner Chrisley, I think I saw your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. It's a comment. I'm just curious to know what's for the second reading. What's the general purpose of having individual votes listed on the minutes? What's the purpose of that? Would be my question. Why worry about it?
Commissioner Klein, would you like to speak to that? Commissioner Jay?
It's to have be digestible for the public to see how commissioners vote. I don't think that's controversial.
Microphone.
I don't believe it's readily accessible by the public. We ran on transparency.
So I think it is available.
It's a second reading. It's not the final version of the form, right? It's not the one that's going to go to the voters. It's just a second reading. It's the minutia of the role that we're playing. It just doesn't seem to have enough relevance to even be having this full conversation right now.
Thank you, Commissioner Chrisley. The information's available. I just would task a member of the public with watching the recording, which could be argued is cumbersome. Commissioner Benton, please.
I think the public has a right to know at whatever stage we're at, where individual people are on these issues. We've talked a lot about ethics over the last couple of weeks, and I think it's important that the public can easily have access to that information.
Commissioner Garber, please.
As one of the people that are working on the minutes, along with Jake over there, I think it would be fine to update these current minutes and going forward to just list all the names of the people saying aye and no and abstain. It would be very easy. And I do agree that transparency is very important. So thank you.
Commissioner Donnelly, please.
Yes, I would favor doing both in effect, listing them in the minutes and then having an easy to see grid such as what was suggested by Commissioner LaBrant and I think also Commissioner Silliman. So both ways to record.
Okay, so we're still dealing with how we would amend these current minutes. Are there any other comments from commissioners who have not yet spoken? Commissioner Lagwami.
Chair, can you call the question, please?
Well, seeing no other comments, then we will move to a vote. So the motion on the floor, which has been seconded, is to amend the minutes by reflecting the roll call results on the second readings, which would include identification of how commissioners voted, yea, nay, or abstain. Commissioner LeBrand.
This is to clarify, this is for the March 26th regular meeting minutes.
That's correct. This is
Thank you.
currently the motion is with respect to these minutes alone. We could come back and revisit current or future minutes. Given the nature of the motion, Jake, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Adeguame,
Abstain.
Commissioner Donnelly,
Aye.
Commissioner LeBrand,
No.
Commissioner Chair Erickson,
Aye.
Commissioner Garber,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamlick,
Aye.
Commissioner Chrisley,
Aye.
Commissioner Landisberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Jay,
Aye.
Commissioner Klein,
Aye.
Commissioner Gasquet,
Aye.
Commissioner Holmgren,
Aye.
Commissioner Benton,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haas,
Yes.
Commissioner Silliman,
Yes.
13 aye, 1 nay, 1 abstain.
Okay, the motion carries. So our March 25th, 2026 minutes will be amended to reflect the roll call votes for the second readings, identifying how commissioners voted on each. Are there any other proposed amendments to these minutes? Commissioner LeBrand.
I will move that we table approval of these minutes until our subsequent meeting to allow time to amend them.
Seconded, Adeguame.
Can you repeat that, please?
I'll move that we table approval of the March 25th meeting minutes until our next meeting to allow time to amend them.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. We'll go to discussion. Commissioner Haas.
I just have a question for staff. Do we have that information, or are we going to have to go back through and are you going to have to watch the whole last meeting?
I believe I still have the roll call sheets. If I don't, I'll be watching the meeting.
Thank you, and I'm sorry.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to table approval of our March 25th, 2026 minutes until they are amended and brought back in the way that we just voted. Are there any opposed? Okay, seeing none, approval of the minutes for March 25th are tabled. While we're on this topic, is there a motion to consider this topic with respect to future minutes?
I thought the motion was to make that the standard going forward.
The motion was with respect to the March 25th minutes alone.
So moved.
Second. Oh,
Okay,
Please
Commissioner
state your
Klein.
name when making motions.
Klein.
Benton, second.
It's been moved and seconded for future meeting minutes, starting with today's meeting, to be documented in the same way with respect to second reading votes, reflecting the results of the roll call. Is there any discussion? Okay, are there any opposed to the motion? Okay, seeing none, the motion is approved. Going forward, our meeting minutes will reflect the roll call votes and second readings. Thank you, commissioners. Okay, we will now move on to executive committee reports. Commissioner Garber, if you could go first, please.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. In our executive committee meeting, we were talking, so at our last charter review meeting, we agreed to hire external help for reviewing charter language changes. Now we need to decide how to identify 3 or 4 persons to request bids from. And the discussion could be, should the executive committee select experienced individuals who write ballot language and seek bids, or do you prefer another approach? And please remember, this is kind of a time-sensitive thing we're working on. So if the executive committee is able to handle it, we can proceed fairly quickly.
Okay, so I think there's some discussion, seeking some discussion on this topic, potentially going to a motion if there's consensus. Commissioner Landesberg, please.
So was there any discussion, follow-up discussion on my suggestion that you contact the Clark County Bar Association to see if they could publish a request to individuals in the county?
We have not done that yet.
Because it seemed like someone had a service that they suggested, often provided. But I feel like going to the Bar Association hits like all the lawyers and let them send out a notice, as opposed to any of us who don't know lawyers say, well, I think maybe my lawyer on this thing could do it.
As a county body, the commission should follow the procurement process that is available to other county bodies, other county offices and departments. And I would advise against just seeking out and trying to procure these drafting services. And again, to clarify, I think we're talking about drafting services, not reviewing or opining on language. I keep hearing the word review, and I don't think that's quite right. But regardless, my point is that I think that the commission should utilize our county procurement department and their services for this purpose.
Okay, I'm going to go in the order of the comments received. Commissioner Landsberg, your comment is well received and has not been forgotten. No actions have been taken as to who will or will not be contacted yet. This discussion is to coalesce around this body's preference as to how that will proceed. Primarily, does this body want to empower the executive committee to move forward, acting on, for example, your suggestion or others that might be brought forward, or do we want members of the body to be able to bring suggestions forward? With respect to Kevin's comment, I can assure this body that proper procurement procedures are being followed and those discussions are well underway right now. Commissioner Donnelly.
Yes, I would ask, are you requesting our input tonight, or would it be possible to table this input until next week to give us some time to give some consideration to this?
If we are in a position where this body is ready to make a decision, that would be well received given the timeliness that Commissioner Garber referenced. I think the discussion topic is not who are these entities or people, but more how do we want to go about identifying them? Do you want to empower the executive committee to go out and identify them on behalf of the body? Or is there another approach that this body would prefer? Commissioner Hamlet.
Because it is time sensitive and I don't want to add more work to the executive board, but I think it would be probably best if you guys did what you needed to do to find the individuals to draft our language quickly so we could get on with our task.
Okay. Thank you. I will add, the intent is, should we act in the way that you've just described, the final decision would still come back to this body for the final selection. What we're now discussing is how would we go about the identification of those prospective service providers? Okay. Commissioner Donnelly, we'll come back to you after others have had a chance to speak. Commissioner Alaguame, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think last time we spoke about this and the time before, we'd mentioned that there was one particular body which writes a lot of code in the state of Washington. That was a recommendation. I'm not sure if we received from the prosecuting attorney's office in that session 2 or 3 sessions ago or not, but I would still strongly recommend that we follow that process. Additionally, I do think we need to at least do as much of that here in the commission as possible. Not to say that we've overburdened the executive committee, but I would seek to make sure that we're doing that. Just in line with the expectation for a county body.
Okay, Katie, I want to make sure I understand the second part of your comment. So first of all, to clarify, no specific entity or persons or firms of that nature have been identified. Were you advocating for the body making the decisions rather than delegating that to the executive committee? Is that
Yes, sir,
correct?
that's correct.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Klein, please.
Chair, would the executive board entertain suggestions from the commission, the individuals who are familiar with licensed, legal, bar registered attorneys who are willing to support our effort? Would that be a possibility to bring those names forward for consideration?
So for example, should this body ask the executive committee to go out and identify those names and solicit proposals, the candidate pool would be assembled based on, for example, recommendations as you described. The executive committee doesn't have a predetermined list of entities that we're waiting to go to pending approval. It's an open slate, and input from everyone would be welcome on that. The question then is, are we ready to move forward with identification and contact those entities? Commissioner LeBrant, then we'll come back to you, Commissioner Donnelly.
So I wanted to piggyback on Commissioner Ottawamme's comment. MRSC, I think, is the organization that may even be able to provide some of that kind of support that we're looking for free. And so I would ask that the executive committee look into whether that service is available, and then we can kind of bypass the whole procurement process altogether. But barring that, either going through the procurement process or through the Clark County Bar, I think kind of allows us to avoid any kind of potential partisan or the air of partisan influence on the drafting process, and just keeps us removed from that potential.
So Commissioner LeBrant, how would you, can you describe what the process then that you're envisioning? What would that look like if we were to implement what you're suggesting?
I would say probably first and foremost, just reaching out to MRSC, like by email. And I would think that'd probably go through the executive committee, but just reaching out and saying, hey, we're drafting some charter amendments. Do you have support services that you can provide? Just not legal advice, but just to make sure that our language is making sense.
Okay. And, I'll just add my own comment that I think we're all in agreement that we're looking for neutral, impartial assistance, and the entities that would be contacted for these services would be, it'd be important that they are able to provide those services in a neutral and biased nature. Commissioner Donnelly, please.
Yes, I strongly recommend that we allow the executive committee to centralize this process, especially taking into account all of the comments and suggestions that we've heard tonight. But it needs to be centralized with the executive committee, and I would be willing to make a motion at the appropriate time.
Okay, Vice Chair Haas, please.
I don't want to get wrapped around the axles on who is going to provide the service. I think the question on the board is, does the body want the executive team to go forward and bring options back to the body? Or do we want as a whole body to go after the options? I think if we put it to the whole body and don't assign it to a smaller group, we're going to be here till November. But I think the executive committee is not looking to make any decisions, but merely provide a smaller menu of options that we have gone out and solicited from the Bar Association, from MRSC, from any other options that people give us to go look. So we're looking to assign the task, I think, is what we're looking to do.
I also believe that once we've established the qualifications of the candidate pool and then valid proposals are received, we're going to be tasked with taking the low bid. So the big decision is who's going to identify those people. Once those bids come in, then the decision will be made. As long as they're responsible bids, then we would be taking the low bid.
Chair,
Commissioner Alagami, please.
I would like to move that the executive committee reach out to MRSC on behalf of this commission, as well as work with county staff to formalize the beginning of the procurement process for drafting services.
Is there a second?
Gasquet, second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Holmgren, we'll come to you.
I wonder if we should also stipulate that we want to receive a certain number of proposals from the executive committee, like 3 to 5 or something like that.
I believe that would be part of following the county's procurement process. So I wouldn't want to prescribe that in my motion. I think the county's procurement process probably has some data around that. Or
Well, that would, yeah, agreed. I would add that it requires that there be that number of entities and persons interested. I think, for example, in the last commission, when the Charter Commission went out for facilitation services, there was only one vendor who bid on those services. So there wasn't really an option other than to reject it and do it on their own. Commissioner Landsberg, please.
So my question, having been a government employee for most of my life, is does the county require that we take the lowest bidder, or do we as a commission get to evaluate the services? Because you could get somebody was admitted to the bar like 2 months ago versus some other qualified people.
Well, I think what we want to do is figure out the qualifications of what we want. Somebody who has experience writing this type of language. And so our qualifications will be very specific.
Yeah, qualifications will be important. Then once those qualifications are established, and then a proper response to the request for services comes back, then at that point, yes, we take those. But Commissioner LeBrand, please.
For a professional services contracts, rather than an RFP, would be doing an RFQ. So a request for qualification, and it's not going to be on a bid basis. There's an amount that can be set aside for that, but it's a slightly different process that gets followed for professional services.
Commissioner Garber, please.
So I have been in contact with the county manager, and the professional services agreement requires at least 2 people to bid on it, and it is the minimum bid. It is not an RFP or an RFQ process, and the amount of money you can go up to on this agreement is $50,000. So of course, that's well over our budget. So the professional services contract would be what we would need.
Okay, is there any more discussion? Commissioner Donnelly, please.
Oh, question for Commissioner Adegwame. Is your motion, which is on the floor, is it to confine the executive committee to just MRSC, or to look in other areas and sources as well? Is it just that one?
Would you like to respond, Commissioner Adegwame?
thank you. If I were to repeat the motion, I believe I said to have the executive committee reach out to MRC on our behalf and also begin the procurement process with the county as necessary.
Does that satisfy your question, Commissioner Donnelly?
Yes, it would appear that there's only one source for your motion, just MRSC.
Negative. So it's to reach out to MRSC, which
Yes.
we've heard is something that can happen via email just to see if they offer the service, and also to begin the procurement process with the county. It is 2 separate efforts.
Thank you.
Okay. Kathleen, since you're online, would you like to chime in on this?
Good evening. Yeah, I'm just looking for the parameters that the commission wants to do. So like a dollar amount not to exceed, what qualifications, timelines, all that kind of stuff. And then we will certainly help you get this out, and we can send it out to as many people as you like, as a minimum of 2, as Kathy communicated. So looking forward to getting those details, and we'll get it out as soon as we have them.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, are there any other comments? Okay, we'll go to a vote then. If you are in favor of the motion brought forward by Commissioner Adequame for the executive committee to engage with MRSC and other service providers
And the county procurement process.
through the county procurement process, then the affirmative vote would approve that. We'll do a hand raise vote, see if we can make it through that. So if you're in favor of that, would you please raise your hand? Okay. Thank you. Motion carries by unanimous vote. Okay. All right. Vice Chair Haas, is there anything that you would like to discuss?
No.
Okay. Then the final comment that I will make, the comments that we received during public comment, executive committee is in favor and support of this body receiving financial information around the amendments that were under contemplation. And our recommendation to the committees, and specifically the chairs of the study committees, is to submit the detailed policy report that each committee is tasked with filling out and sharing that with the auditor's office to get financial feedback. That same form is already required to be submitted to the PA's office. It's going to be placed on our website. That document can also serve to solicit financial feedback. The feedback that we have received is that in order for them to give us as accurate information as possible, that the draft language of the actual charter language would need to be presented on that form, which I think is already asked for. But as a friendly reminder, if you include that, it would aid them in giving you more accurate financial information. Commissioner Silman.
Mr. Chair, can you just clarify the offer of services was from the Financial Services Department, not the Auditor's Department? But you said send a request to the Auditor's Department. Would you like to clarify that?
Well, it would be going to these gentlemen back here. But so we can fine tune the actual delivery method of that form. It's going to be on the website. So accessing the form is not the issue. It's the request for the information to review that and then send that back to the committee.
So we're going to have a request for financial information that we can send to them.
Yeah, our committee protocols doesn't require that. Like it does require a submission of that form to the PA's office. So we are strongly encouraging the committees to seek out that information and so that it can be part of the deliberative process. Commissioner Adequame.
Thank you, Chair. You just mentioned that form asks for draft language. So just to clarify for those of us playing at home here, we previously stated it would require 2 weeks after the formation of the study committee. That form would then have to be submitted, right, which calls for draft language. And we're now talking about getting drafting services. So just want to clarify that all those proposals which have moved past second reading but are not yet able to access drafting services will be able to wait until we procure those services.
That's not correct. So that form is going to be filled out to the best ability of the committee. It's understood it's not the final language.
Mm-hmm.
The final language was what the drafting committee, which is yet to be formed, will be tasked with. So for the purposes of getting a point in time where information is solicited, whether it be legal or financial, the committee will do its best to contemplate what that language looks like, recognizing that it's still subject to the process that the drafting committee will go through.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so there isn't a motion with respect to that. It's a strong encouragement that each committee will seek out and request that information and we will fine tune the process by which that can happen. Okay, that concludes executive committee reports. We'll move on to our next agenda item. We do have an invited guest. We have County Council Chair Sue Marshall. Chair Marshall, thank you for being here. We appreciate your patience. And we would like to allow you to make some comments and then reserve a portion of your allotted 15 minutes to field questions and have a discussion with us, please.
Great, thank you very much. I'm just looking at the time, that'll help me. So Sue Marshall, County Chair, thank you, Chair, and Commissioners for the invitation. I wanted to come in early in the process, although you're steaming ahead. Kudos to you for that. Just share some of my overall concerns to start out, and then I'll go through some of the list that are you're bringing forward this year at this point. So some of my overall concerns, and I think you heard it a little bit from the auditor and finance director's comments, is that I would encourage you maybe to have a work session so there's a longer period of time for them to talk to you about the budget process and how we do things that may inform some of the amendments that you are bringing forward and whether or not there may be a need for them. I'd also think it would be interesting just in terms of due diligence to seek out a legal review of some of the items you're bringing forward to see if it is within your scope or the council's scope before they go on to the ballot, and if there is a fiscal analysis as well for some of the things that you're bringing forward. I would just encourage you to be judicious in the number of amendments that you bring forward. My count for this year is 33. Now, this year, because there's a lot of things on the ballot, it won't be as expensive. Next year, it'll be a great deal more expensive, but the number I've heard is 15 to 30,000 per item. So I just encourage you to be cautious in that realm. So moving on to some of the actual amendments, 2607, an analysis of the impact of code changes related to land availability. I would just say currently we have DEEB, the Development Engineering Advisory Board. They review all of the code changes that come before us, and if they have any concerns, they certainly share that with us, and things get modified as we go along. So I'm not sure if there's a need for that. There may be a financial impact if there's additional staff required, and I'm not sure if it would also could add to a delay in permitting. 2008, 80% supermajority in taxes. There's very few options we have for raising revenue. There's property tax and sales tax, and both of those are down. We're in a structural deficit, and as you've heard, now we've recognized an operating deficit. Over the last several years, there were many years where the council did not take that 1% increase. And so that's just really squeezed the budget. I think we've been very tight in all departments. And I would be concerned, just this past year, there were some, 0.1% sales tax that we were able to take specifically for law and justice, which we took primarily, which will fund deputies, and another 0.1% sales tax for affordable housing. That one was available for a number of years, which we didn't take. So I would be cautious that you're really hamstringing the council and our ability to be flexible in raising money, and that there is a great deal of uncertainty going forward, both at the federal level, funding that we depend upon for services. That's very much a concern. And then the mandates, you've heard about public defense. There's litigation. We'll see how that all turns out, but it's all adds up to a lot of strain on our budget. And so adding 80% supermajority, I don't think it's not good timing for that. 2010, transparency on the budget process. I think it would be good to hear from the budget director and the county manager related to the timing that is suggested and if there's this, how that would be impactful on things. I don't know if what you're proposing is would be an easy remedy or not. I would just say a lot of the budget is very transparent. Everything's online. I know when it comes down to actually approving the budget, they're not, except for the department heads, there's not very many members of the public that weigh in. Okie doke. Okay, that brings me down to 2612 and 2626. The mandating a certain percentage for deputies and setting the sheriff's department as a priority in funding. And I would say, when I started just a couple of years ago, it was 70% of our general fund went to law and justice. It's up to 75% now. And I know when the city of Vancouver was proposing 80 additional deputies, it kind of had a ripple effect of concern in all of the components of law and justice, because it's very difficult to look at one piece of law and justice without looking at all of them and the impact it has. You've heard about public defense and the needs there. I'm sure all of you have heard about the jail too and the needs that we have there. If people aren't, if we're not able to assign a public defender, if cases get dismissed, it doesn't matter how many deputies you have. Likewise with the jail, if there's no place for people to go, it doesn't matter how many deputies you have. And I would say that the council over the years, I can't speak for previous councils, but I know this council is very supportive. And in the past, we've been supportive in elevating the pay and providing signing bonuses. And I just learned today that all positions are filled. In the past, it had been, and this is not a reflection on our sheriff's department, but really all of them, that it's difficult to fill these positions. And often there'd be sometimes up to double-digit vacancies. So it's hard to justify adding additional positions when you're full. When you're not full with the positions you already have. So that's just a little context for that. So that I feel like it's already a priority very much with us. But again, just cautionary note, look at the whole justice system because it's difficult to just elevate one piece of it. Let's see. Moving on to 2613. What was this one? Oh, the legislative branch supervising the employees. I would say there's not a problem here. I don't know what this is trying to fix. I think it'd be difficult for any one of our administrative staff to have 5 supervisors, because that in effect is what would happen. I think they answer to us. I've not seen any problem. These are shared staff. So I just don't know what the need for this one would be, and things are working just fine. We could use additional staff, I think, but I think it's fine for the county manager to supervise, and they really take direction from the council. 2614, performance audits. You already heard a little bit from the auditor's office. We have a strong team, and if there are the one thing I would suggest that I see as a potential need, because it's been a problem in the past, is that if there are audits, they're posted. Formerly, the routine would be to present that to the county council, the results of audits that occur. That happened up until there were some members of maybe the commission at that time who didn't like the results of the audit, and so they stopped presenting that information to the council. So I think requiring that the council see the audits and it be presented in a transparent way for the public to hear as well. Inspector General, maybe not a bad idea, but I think the auditor's office can also perform some of that function And I think they're very responsive to any concerns that are come up. Limitation on terms, haven't seen where that's a problem. I can't think of who served 3 terms. Just in general, as far as influencing things, it's the electeds, it's the department heads and county manager, and it's the lobbyist. And if you limit one of those, for example, the electeds, you will in effect limit their level of influence. And maybe people want to do that, but it's just to know, I think the voters themselves have been really effective at limiting people's terms. The 2621, I think that has not been an issue with the council in terms of not having any of the other countywide electeds be appointed by the council. So it's there may be others that are interested in that, but I haven't seen the council interested in that at all. Then moving on to the appoint or remove. Right now, we'll be putting that into our rules and procedures, and we have a legal opinion now as well, so we do have the authority to do that. So I don't see that as a need. And mandating, let's see, 26, that's 35, mandating public defense. Well, it is already mandated, and we'll be struggling to figure out how to finance that. So that's my short list. I may follow up with something written.
Okay, commissioners. Thank you, Chair Marshall. Appreciate those comments. We do have a few minutes left. We'll go around the room and try to fit in as many questions as we can. We'll start here at the end. Commissioner Landsberg, please.
Okay, so on what we've called, there's 3 of us put forth proposals on the what we call the Belcon Amendment. Mine was just to add, if you can appoint, you can remove, and that's all I wanted to propose. There were others that were in more detail. I don't know if you all will be in a better position to address this next year when maybe litigation will be done.
As far as I know, litigation is done.
Okay. And you can't share the legal opinion.
Yeah, it's public. It was dismissed with.
Oh, I know
prejudice.
that, but I thought you got a separate legal opinion, okay.
We're good.
Okay.
I think your approach, if it's more of a belt and suspenders, if you put it in the charter, it wouldn't be subject to one council or another changing things one way or another.
Right, because all I wanted to say was, if you can appoint, and that's in the charter, that you could remove, whether we put in a majority vote or whatever. The question that the other people wanted to do was to write in procedures into the vote. And I always wanted to keep it short and simple because
I like your short and simple.
Okay.
Commissioner Jay, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilor Marshall, for speaking with us. I just want to give you an opportunity to propose ideas or different, as opposed to what we've already proposed, because we do have opportunities in the future to propose new amendments, but if you had any more.
Even more.
Yeah, ideas that we could do moving forward or things that you think are in other counties that are working that.
Well, let me think about that. I know some of the things that are proposed for next year, which I thought with limited time, I'd set those aside. I can come back. Will I have 3 minutes or I'll do my best?
We'd be happy to have you come back in the future after we've cycled through other invitees.
Good, thanks.
Commissioners, are there any other questions for Chair Marshall? Okay, Chair Marshall, you have a little time left. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I would just say I've been very impressed with your work habit and that you've gotten a lot done in a very short amount of time. And I think with the exception of the approval of the minutes, I would say you've been very efficient and a good model for future commissions. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair Marshall. Appreciate your time to be here and for your comments. Commissioners, it's now 6:35. Is there a motion to take a 5-minute break?
So moved, Commissioner Jay.
Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, we will come back at 6:41. Commissioners, welcome back. If you please find your seats. Our next agenda item is committee reports. And we will use this to allow for our committees to provide brief updates to the body as a whole. We'll first start with Public Outreach Committee. And what we're looking for is an overall update. Have you met? Who's the chair? What are you doing? Is there anything that you need from this body? So with that, I understand that Commissioner Holmgren is the chair of the Public Outreach Committee, correct? Okay. Commissioner Holmgren, could you please give us a brief update?
Yes. So we did meet on, is it Monday? Yes, yesterday. And we met with the county communication staff. They walked us through what the process would look like for collecting feedback. We asked them what tools would be available to us. Seems like SurveyMonkey is not an option, but there might be something that we can build into our website. We also discussed creating a communication strategy through social media that could direct people to our website to provide public comment. We're working on a timeline for that, and I will reach out to the chairs of each of the study committees to ask them about what type of language and when they would like posts to go out requesting public feedback on their specific committee items. We are also seeking information on locations and dates for town halls. Again, as the discussion happened at last week's meeting, we're hoping to do a town hall in each of the districts. And our discussion was that most of those we think will probably occur in the month of May. And so we will be seeking out locations for those and hoping to talk with each of us by district about what dates will work in the month of May.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now ask for brief updates to the study committees that have been formed. We'll start with Committee for Amendment 2601. Commissioner Garber, can you give us a brief update, please?
Sure. So we are meeting on, now I'm forgetting, Thursday at noon, we'll have our first meeting. I have provided a very rough draft of the detailed policy form to the members of the committee and provided them all the information I have. So when we have that meeting, we can move quickly through the study committee process.
And thank you. Just to clarify, 2601, clarifying nonpartisan office elections. Next, we'll ask for a brief update from the committee on 2607, requiring land supply and construction cost analysis. Commissioner Jay, do you have a brief update you can share, please?
Yes, I have sent out a request for information through Kathleen Otto to the Community Planning Department, as well as I've reached out to Whatcom County. And I have reached out to my fellow commissioners for a Friday afternoon meeting that's on the books that we plan to work through the policy document that is required for the following meeting. But that is currently where we're at with. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll next move for an update on Amendment 2610, revised budget transparency and process. Commissioner Sillin, can you please give us a brief update?
Sorry, I haven't scheduled a first meeting yet.
Okay, thank you. Next, we will ask for an update from Committee on 2615, Ethics. Commissioner Gasquet, please.
We'll be meeting Monday.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll next move to comments by support staff. Start with Jake. Jake, is there anything you'd like to share with us? Nope. Okay. Kathleen, we'll come back to you in a second. Just so you're ready. Johnny, is there anything that you'd like to share with us?
I don't have anything to share at this time. Thanks.
Thank you. Kathleen, is there anything that you would like to share with us?
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kevin, is there anything that you would like to share with us?
Sure. Very briefly, just wanted to address the issue of referring items to the study committees and kind of the practice that's been adopted thus far, and to clarify what I think the advice from our office has been given. I conferred with Ms. Jolma regarding this issue, and wanted to clarify for the commission that the 15 vote threshold regarding whether or not OPMA requirements would apply to the study committees was an example put forth that may be indicative of the potentially of the authority that is vested in the study committees, but the essential test of whether or not the OPMA would apply to a committee or a subcommittee is in fact whether or not that committee or subcommittee exercises decision-making authority. If they are acting in a purely advisory role and simply reporting back their recommendations to the commission as a whole, regardless of whether or not the item barely squeaked by with a majority or whether or not it was unanimous, really is not determinative. The determinative factor as to whether or not the OPMA applies is, again, the role in which that committee or subcommittee is functioning and the degree, or rather whether or not they are exercising any decision-making authority. So just wanted to offer that clarification for the commission.
Thank you. So I want to be really clear about what you're telling us. We have been operating under the understanding that should there be a unanimous vote in favor of advancing an amendment out of second reading and into a study committee, that the body as a whole would then function as a committee. And that if it were less than a unanimous vote, then a committee could be formed, not be subject to OPMA. Are you saying, just so that we're clear, that even if this body were to vote unanimously, that the committee could be formed like any other committee, even if it were not a unanimous vote? So in other words, the unanimous vote requirement that we heard earlier, you are clarifying that. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. That the determinative factor is not how much support the proposal has when it's voted to go to the study committee. The determinative factor is whether or not the study committee is exercising decision-making authority. And I guess just to add one more further thought on this, and again, this is something that I was just talking with Ms. Jolma about earlier today, is the assumption, of course, is that these study committees would be comprised of a number of members that is less than a majority. If we have any study committee that has more than a majority of the total commission on it, then the OPMA requirements are going to apply.
Yeah, there's no intent to change the committees themselves, how they function. I think what we're hearing, and I just want to be crystal clear, that because we are about to take some second reading votes. If any of these votes are unanimous, then that would not require this body as a whole to function as the committee. That a study committee could be set up for these amendments, no different than if it were a non-unanimous vote. Is that correct?
Precisely.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Laguame, please.
Chair, just a question. To clarify from that further, does that mean that any study committee needs to bring recommendations back to the body and not make any determinations on behalf of the body regarding whatever the proposal or amendment they have before them is? Is that correct?
Correct. No changes to the way these committees work. No committee is empowered to make any decisions on behalf of this body. They study issues, they bring information back, recommendations for consideration by this whole body. That does not change regardless of how many votes a certain amendment receives in the second reading. think the clarification is just whether or not the committee function or the formation of the committee has changed, whether we have a unanimous vote or not.
Thank you, Chair. It is good to have that clarity on the record.
Okay. Thank you, staff. We appreciate your support. Commissioners, we'll now move on to our next agenda item. We have no old business, so we will move into new business, which is the continuation of second readings of proposed amendments. First up is Amendment Proposal 26-08, required supermajority council approval for county taxes. Jake, if you could please put up the timer. This will be presented by Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Chair. Amendment Proposal 26-08, requiring supermajority for council approval for county taxes. To begin, I'd like to thank my co-sponsors as well as the rest of the commission for considering this proposal. Jump on to the next slide. So the problem is pretty simple in that it only takes 3 county councilors to vote in the affirmative in order to raise taxes for approximately 542,000 Clark County residents. And it's important to note when evaluating the impact of county taxes, we have to recognize that this does not exist in a vacuum. As the majority party in Olympia continues to pursue tax increases, create new taxes, as well as adopt policies that raise the cost of living and strain our state's economy, these burdens all draw from the same residents and the same pool who fund county government. You only need to look across the Columbia River to see the impact that these policies will have on our state as Oregon's economy is being hollowed out. And I believe that therefore we must take a stand for the sake of our community and for the Clark County taxpayers with the tools that we have at our disposal. So there are negative impacts to high property taxes, although I'm aware that they do provide our county with revenue. Increased housing costs for both renters and homeowners as property taxes are passed on to renters via landlords. They are a barrier to home ownership as high property taxes can discourage people from buying homes in our community, only pushing what once was the American dream further and further out of reach for young families. It can further erode the housing market by discouraging development altogether. Our comp plans and projections all look nice on paper, but will mean very little if our policies undermine them. They are the primary contributor of gentrification as high property taxes can price out existing residents, especially those on fixed incomes like seniors. Jump on to the next slide. Thank you. So here is the current ballot language draft. This proposal is based on a 2012 Pierce County Charter amendment that received 67% of the vote. I don't know if I should read it, but I think we can. Should I read it? Yeah. No?
It's up to you, Commissioner Jay, how you want to use your time.
We'll skip it. Great, thank you. So supermajorities are a common feature across the federal, state, and local governments. They exist to ensure that a simple majority cannot unilaterally override the rights or interests of a minority. Constitutional and charter framers include supermajority requirements because certain decisions, such as constitutional amendments, tax increases, or major fiscal commitments demand broad consensus to maintain public trust and legitimacy. For example, you can find supermajority requirements in our federal constitution, the Washington State Constitution, the Clark County Charter, and even our own bylaws. At the federal level, you need a 2/3 to pass treaties, override vetoes, to propose constitutional amendment. In Washington, we have state constitution, we have over 20 supermajority requirements, including 2/3 to overturn a governor's veto, to relocate the state capital, or 3/5 to approve a state lottery or incur state debt. In our current county charter, you need a supermajority of 4/5 to enact emergency ordinances. So don't tell me, what if there is a fiscal emergency? If to declare an emergency, you need 4/5. And as well as a supermajority for the council to place a charter amendment on the ballot. And in our own body, it takes 10-15 to remove one of our leaders and 2/3 to amend the bylaws as stated by Robert's rules. So even those who advocated for this change in our bylaws must admit that removing a chair or a secretary or a vice chair is a far less consequential decision than raising taxes for over 500,000 people. Moving on to the next slide. Thank you. So for councils with or legislative bodies with 9 or fewer members, a supermajority in this case is defined as a majority plus one. I even made a little formula here to articulate. So N divided by 2, in this case, N equals the number of counselors, rounded up, that's what that special parentheses there means, plus 1. So this formula will ensure that a supermajority tax increase will be protected should the county council grow in size, as you can see illustrated in the chart. But I want to call out, though, that this is not about percentages. It is about the people, the amount of people it takes to raise taxes. It's not a matter of 60% versus 80%. In a 5-member body, 60% isn't an abstract number. It is three people. And just 3 people are required to raise taxes. So it's about, I think in this case that percentages can be a misleading way. They shift the focus away from how few people are actually around the table to make a decision. And, if you want to go to a kid's 2nd birthday party and announce that the kid aged 100%, yeah, that's true information you just said, but it isn't exactly useful in the context, especially when discussing numbers that we can only count using our hands. So moving on to the next slide. For the benefits of this proposal, first, it will prevent hasty or politically convenient tax hikes. It will encourage more transparent budgeting, as officials will have to justify their reasons for increasing taxes to get a wider consensus on the county council. It will protect economic growth and cost of living, as taxpayers will be more confident if our tax rates are predictable. It strengthens our democracy. As mentioned, supermajorities are a fundamental tool in our republic, and this proposal will require more consensus on the council, and it does no harm. It doesn't change current taxes or fees or reduce any services or programs or prevent tax increases from happening in the future. And finally, on the impact of public safety, at least 3 Washington jurisdictions have a supermajority requirement for their tax increases, including Pierce County, which passed in 2012, and in the cities of Spokane and in Yakima, which passed in 2013. And despite this, these jurisdictions have consistently maintained more deputized officers per 1,000 than Clark County. Now, I understand that sheriff's offices are different than police departments, but nevertheless, I think it's important to point out that Spokane has actually seen a significant increase in officers following this adoption. And what this graph also suggests to me is that supermajority requirements is not the cause of understaffed sheriffs or police departments, sheriff offices or police departments, but rather potential failure in leadership and perhaps a reprioritization of other things. That said, I would be open to, given the state of our public safety crisis, to make a potential carve out for the sole purpose of funding public safety on this, if the commission deems that a valuable idea or if it's feasible, so we can get a more broad base of support for this from this commission for this proposal. And for that, I'd like to thank you all for your time and your consideration, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Jay. We'll start with questions. Commissioner Landesberg, please.
So have you looked at Clark County's county council, like for the last 10 or 20 years? How many tax increases were voted by 3 versus 4?
I have not.
Do you think you could come back to us whenever we do another presentation so that you could answer that? Because one of the things that Auditor Kimsey said, what are we fixing? And so my question is, what are we fixing if it hasn't been a problem? And so I haven't lived here all this time, so I'm just curious what's been going on for the last 20 years.
I do believe that we can have foresight to be able to predict problems. And I do think that it is, in general, the problem is stated is that 3 people have the ability to raise property taxes for $500,000. So I think we can address that. And I could look into that just for curiosity's sake, though I'm not sure how that would inform anyone's vote on it, but it could be something that's looked into.
Commissioner Alagwame, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask kind of a twofold question. None of the federal examples up there dealt with taxes. And property taxes are set based on assessed value. So really the big impact there, I think, comes from how they get assessed, right? But in our February 4th meeting, you said, generally in a democratic republic, you operate by majority, and majority is powerful enough on its own. If we actually want to conduct business, we need to stick to a simple majority. So I'm trying to reconcile your comments there with this proposal for a supermajority, right? Is the intent that the county isn't able to conduct business? You said a number higher than majority would be a higher standard operating procedure that's even more egregious than the United States Senate, which still operates under majority. So what is the intent? Like, what are we trying to do to the county here, if those are your own words?
That's fair. And in this case, when it comes to how a legislative body chooses to operate, I think the United States Senate can make these decisions on their own and how they choose with the case of the filibuster. And I do generally, there is a reality of supermajorities across different commissions. But there's also a reality that you and many of the commissioners who are likely to oppose this current proposed amendment have supported supermajorities in the past, including to override my suggestion that we lower the threshold to remove officers to 8 as opposed to 10. And so what would motivate somebody to vote against this amendment had they supported the removal of officers at a rate of 10, but not in this case. And so this question, it might seem like a gotcha, but it does cut both ways.
Commissioner Garber, please.
Thank you. So I do have a comment to make. Requiring more than a majority, 4 out of 5 of councilors to vote yes to increase taxes empowers the minority, giving them more of a voice than the majority. It can lead to political gridlock, delay of projects, and could make local government shift costs by raising fees in other areas. Bond rating agencies may view governments with supermajority tax requirements less reliable borrowers, and it could lead to lower bond ratings and higher interest rates for projects. And I will be voting no.
Thank you. Commissioner Chrisley, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. I mean, I understand the intent of this amendment, but it embeds fiscal policy restrictions into the charter. The charter is a structure of government, not a policy body. And so we already have a majority vote system in place for council decisions. So I go back to, what problem are we trying to solve by overriding the standard and locking in a higher threshold for one specific policy area?
Commissioner, do you want to respond?
I think that you have in this case, it might be a narrow idea of what policy is versus structure. And I think that when we set the vote requirements for something to be done, it's not a matter of policy. This is a structural thing. I'm not setting the rates for taxes. I'm not proposing that we lower the taxes. I'm not doing any of that. I'm setting the structural requirement to raise taxes. This is a structural issue by that definition. It's not a policy issue. And policy issues do make their way into charters, into constitutions. It's just a matter of how we want them to be codified and whether to last in some level of perpetuity or whether that charter or constitution is amended. But this is not specific policy or ordinance.
Are there any other comments or questions? Commissioner Klein, please.
Thank you. Given the last legislative session, we've seen extremely high tax increases coming. We know that the income tax is not for millionaires. It's going to come to all of us at some point once all implemented in 2029 and forward. Taking taxes from people in the form of property taxes is taking property. It's already been established. And so I will be voting in favor of this.
Commissioner LeBrant, please.
I actually want to piggyback on Commissioner Landisberg's question. I actually had the same question, and it is admittedly more of a curiosity thing than anything as far as how this might have changed the result of votes in the past. But I just want to call out, for what it's worth, your response to her comment came across as a little bit dismissive, and I would hope that we could conduct ourselves with a certain amount of decorum, even when we disagree. Thanks.
Commissioner Jay.
That's fair. And I think it's definitely something worth looking into to see historical Ideally, though, if we're asking commissioners to do research, it should help inform their vote. If one does request, I hope that that's the intent behind the ask. But in recent years, it has been 4 to 5 for the last 2 years at least for tax increases here. So it has happened and will likely happen in the future too.
Commissioner Holmgren, please.
Yeah, I would like to just state that I think setting the bar for supermajorities is one of the core functions of the council, taxing and setting the budget, which setting the budget will be severely impacted if we require tax increases to be impacted by a supermajority, does undermine majority rule in a way that doing so for extreme and outside the norm behavior. And so I think we should treat it as this is essentially saying that the budgeting process, at least half of the budgeting process, will require a supermajority, which does empower the minority. So while you sit here and tell us that, there's 3 members who of a 500,000, 3 people from 500,000 get to increase taxes. What you're also saying is that in the future, if this passes, 2 members will make sure that the county has to cut its budget in some circumstances. And I think you're fully aware of the impact, but that's why I'll be opposing this.
Thank you, commissioners. Our time has expired. I realize that more time would be ideal, but we do need to move forward. We'll move to a vote. This will be a roll call vote. And as we agreed earlier, the results of the vote will be recorded in the minutes according to yay, nay, or abstain. Jake, would you please call the vote, please?
Commissioner Adeguame,
No.
Commissioner Donnelly,
Aye.
Commissioner LeBrant,
No.
Chair Erickson,
Aye.
Commissioner Garver,
No.
Commissioner Hamlick,
Aye.
Commissioner Chrisley,
No.
Commissioner Landisberg,
No.
Commissioner Jay,
Aye.
Commissioner Klein,
Aye.
Commissioner Gasquet,
No.
Commissioner Holmgren,
No.
Commissioner Benton,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haas,
Aye.
Commissioner Silliman.
Yes.
8 ayes, 7 nay.
Thank you. With 8 votes, it does qualify to move forward to have a study committee with Commissioner Jay as the chair. And we'll next move to confirm the members of the committee. Thank you. We'll start with the co-sponsors. Commissioner Donnelly, are you interested in serving on the committee?
Yes.
Commissioner Benton,
Yes.
Commissioner Klein,
Confirmed.
Commissioner Silliman.
Yes.
I'm listed as a co-sponsor. I'm going to respectfully decline to be a member of the committee due to other commitments. We do have room for 2 more members of the committee if there are people who'd like to volunteer. Okay, seeing none, committee is formed with Commissioner Jay as the chair. As a friendly reminder, Commissioner Jay, your detailed policy form will be due 2 weeks from today, which is before our Wednesday meeting. We'll next move on to our next second reading. Amendment Proposal 26-12, prioritize public safety. Commissioner Silliman as the sponsor. You ready to begin?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please begin. Thank you.
All right, everybody's favorite topic. This proposed amendment would amend Article 1 of the Clark County Charter. It would make law enforcement deputy funding the paramount duty of Clark County. Washington is currently ranked 51st in the nation. That includes Washington, D.C., so we're lower than them. A position held for the last 15 years. The state averages around 1.36 officers per thousand versus the national average between 2.3 and 2.4. The source for that is listed for your benefit. Crime rates as well are the inverse of our staffing levels. They are the highest. We rank third in the worst in the nation for property crime, according to an article in Statistia. I'll just lead you to look up the references. Ranks third in the worst in the nation for car theft. Violent crime is up 20% in 5 years. Aggravated assault is up 30% in 5 years. We are ranked number 1 on the retail theft index by Forbes magazine, the third highest on retail theft ranking, worst in total value of goods stolen, second in larceny thefts per capita, second in growth of larceny thefts per capita, first in retail crime cost to businesses, including the lost production and higher insurance rates borne by businesses and the consumers. Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs said public safety is a core function of government, and for too long we have not treated it that way. The organization's purpose is to lead collaboration among law enforcement professionals and to enhance public safety in Washington state specifically. They described the state's 1.36 officers per 1,000 levels as a crisis and a chronic lack of law enforcement safety staffing. Tired officers running from call to call by themselves are the worst possible outcome for wellness, for victims, and for de-escalation. More than half of Washington violent crime goes unsolved. 62% of homicides are solved, but only 51% of aggravated assaults, only 31% of robberies, and only 25% of rapes. Clark County specific staffing rates. Vancouver, Washington, and if these are off by a percentage point, maybe they changed because somebody got hired, but in general, Vancouver, Washington, 1.19, Camas, 1.16. This is officers per 1,000 residents. Ridgefield, 1.08. Battleground, 1.30. Clark County, Washington, 0.64. And Clark County Sheriff's Office serves over half of the population of Clark County. I'm trying to come up with a constitutional solution and language. So this language comes straight out of the Washington State Constitution. The language meaning of the terms and the applicability has been reviewed by the Washington State Supreme Court. So my proposed amendment says it is the paramount duty of the county to make ample provision for law enforcement deputy staffing and the public safety of all residents residing within its borders. Clark County Sheriff's Office deputy staffing per county resident shall reflect national averages for similar counties. The county shall enforce the law without discrimination as required by Section 8.7 of this charter. Many people are familiar with negative rights or prohibitions on government action that prohibit government from interfering with the people's natural rights, such as assembly or the right to bear arms. Many are not familiar with the concept of positive rights. Those are ones that require the state to take action to fulfill. The Washington State Supreme Court confirmed both the right of the people to create positive rights and the court's obligation to enforce it in McCleary versus the state. And the reference for that ruling is made available for you. They also in that ruling defined several terms used in this. They defined paramount duty as meaning the supreme, preeminent, or dominant. Said the government must take make appropriations consistent with its paramount duty. The government must meet its paramount duty obligation first, and ample means fully sufficient, considerably more than just adequate funding. Ample funding must be accomplished by means of dependable and regular tax sources. The judiciary has the primary responsibility for interpreting a constitutional or charter amendment and to give it meaning and legal effect. The court defers to the legislature's chosen means to discharge its duty. That's a quote from their ruling. My intention is to follow that same pattern, not micromanaging Clark County, but imposing the duty and letting them working out the details. So that's why I said Clark County staffing per county resident shall reflect national averages for similar counties. This doesn't propose a rigid standard like the national average of 2.4 or the state average of 1.3. This allows the county council and the sheriff the latitude to find comparable law enforcement agencies and agree to determine a reasonable staffing goal. When the goal is created, a plan must be created to achieve the goal, and progress must be made towards that goal. Again, I just repeated the amendment. What problem are we solving? The people of Clark County want the trend changed on Clark County Sheriff's deputy staffing levels. The bulk of the population served by the Clark County Sheriff's Office, which is Council District 2 and Council District 5, where I'm from, elected 6 charter review candidates who heard from their fellow citizens and ran on this issue. And I want to acknowledge that those charter review candidates representing the city of Vancouver may not have heard for that same concern because they already have twice the level of police staffing that we do out in the county. This proposed charter amendment is the least intrusive means for the people to make a policy statement, create a judicially enforceable constitutional duty, while providing as much freedom as possible for the elected officials to work out the details. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Sullivan. I'll start this way. Commissioner Holmgren, please.
Thank you. I just want to point out that you've relied pretty heavily on the McCleary decision in the Washington State Constitution as kind of the basis for your argument here. And as someone who is deeply connected with the K-12 education system here in Washington, I think most would argue that McCleary and its effects have been massively detrimental to the K-12 education system in Washington. It has led to the legislature being unwilling to solve funding problems, instead relying on judicial decisions. It has led to significant, or the language in the Constitution has led to significant amounts of litigation rather than actually attempting to solve those problems. And it has, over time, since the passage of the resolution of the McCleary decision, has led to consistent declines in K-12 education funding per pupil and per resident across the state. So I think the evidence over the long haul is that this type of language may actually be counterproductive because it discourages the legislative body from engaging in actual problem solving once a resolution has been reached.
Commissioner Sullivan, would you like to respond before we move on?
Sure. I relied on the McCleary decision only for the language and the example of our state constitution, and to point out that by creating a positive right, it is judicially enforceable, which is what McCleary demonstrated. The outcomes in public education, the legislature, based on the language in our state constitution, was forced to deal with the issue and provide additional funding for public schools. Their ability to implement that is affected by a lot of other variables, but it wasn't my intention to rely on McCleary and the public schools as a mechanism for funding. I think the foundational principles are, this is a judicially enforceable idea. It's not micromanaging, and it's tried and true in Washington State. They've defined the terms.
Commissioner Laguame, please.
Thank you, Chair. Before we heard tonight from the folks from the Finance Department, we had heard from a community member, I think 2 or 3 sessions ago, who had asked that you look at the holistic picture of how we determine public safety, community safety, right? Funding the sheriff's office doesn't necessarily make it safer to walk down the street when a streetlight might make it safer to walk down in that specific area, right? There are examples of things that are community safety. So I was sad not to see that translated to this presentation, especially as we got comments from a member of the public about that, which was really great to see. But I really wanted to just get into how you envision that we pay for this, because it looks like a lot of headlines in the presentation, but when I think about that's in context to like 2626, for instance, which lays out a much more structured framework, I don't see the meat of what happens after. So how do you envision this being implemented? What goes next?
I think some of the numbers as far as impact are going to be presented in Ann's documentation, and they've been discussed as well. But I think to conflate having to deal with the entire judicial system as a package, I think a lot of people recognize that if you put deputies on the streets, it has a deterrent effect. It has a positive effect. And if that was the only thing we do, it would have a positive effect, even just on behavior. I mean, I go slower when I see a cop down the street. It's the same type of behavior with crime and other things. And I think people want more deputy presence. They want people available to respond to calls when they call 911. That's important to the citizens in unincorporated Clark County. As far as funding, I think Ann Donnelly has shown in her documentation later that if we're talking about growth of 15 deputies a year, we're talking about a change of $3 million a year being added to the sheriff's department. And when you're talking about an $882 million overall county budget, we're talking less than 1/3 of 1% of the budget migrating each year. So I think the numbers, it all depends on how you look at them.
Thank you for the answers.
Commissioner Garber, please.
Thank you. RCW 3632-120 provides budgetary authority and priorities to the county legislative body. It requires the county legislative body to have the care of the county property and the management of the county funds. Amending the charter to set financial priorities removes the flexibility and responsiveness county council needs based on evolving circumstances. It can restrict a county's ability to respond to emergencies or changing economic conditions.
Commissioner Selman, would you like to respond briefly? We do have two other hands raised.
As briefly as I can. This is not micromanaging the county council. They've expressed that they are making efforts to change in this direction, but it also gives the people the ability to say, and the people through our charter have the ability to override and give direction to the county council of what they want. Political power is vested in the people, not politicians.
Commissioner Chrisley, please.
Thank you, Chair. As a veteran and a first responder, I strongly support our men and women in law enforcement. But with that said, this creates a legally enforceable funding obligation. If that funding obligation has to be met first, what happens to the other essential services that are competing for that same budget?
Well, again, that's why I tried to keep this as high level as possible. It doesn't mandate dollars. It doesn't mandate deadlines. It just basically requires the county to come up with a plan and stick to that plan and solve the problem of public safety that the public wants them to solve.
Thank you, Commissioners. It does look like we're not going to have the opportunity to field all questions. Commissioner Gasky, next, please.
Yeah, I have quite a few issues. One being the vagueness in the language opens up us more to litigation, which is very expensive, which then adds to more tax dollars being spent when we already prioritize public safety. It's already 75% of our general fund. So again, what problem are we solving by putting this in here? And are we creating more problems by putting this language in the charter? The other issue is deputies are very expensive. They're $225,000 for their first year is what the sheriff said, right? But a street light is a lot cheaper. So there are things that increase public safety that cost a lot less than a sheriff deputy. So when we put in writing that it has to be sheriff deputies, we are taking that flexibility away from the council to make decisions that can be better for the community. I'm all for prioritizing public safety, but it already is the priority. So we're not fixing a problem that exists. The problem is revenue. It's not the lack of prioritizing public safety.
Thank you, Commissioner Gasky. Commissioners, thank you for your comments. I think we all agree that this conversation could continue, the same with other amendments, but we will move forward now with a roll call vote. Jake, if you could please call the roll.
Commissioner Adeguame.
No.
Commissioner Donnelly.
Yes.
Commissioner LeBrant.
No.
Chair Erickson,
Aye.
Commissioner Garber,
No.
Commissioner Hamlet,
Aye.
Commissioner Chrisley,
No.
Commissioner Landisberg,
No.
Commissioner Jay,
Aye.
Commissioner Klein,
Aye.
Commissioner Gasquet,
No.
Commissioner Holmgren,
No.
Commissioner Benton,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haas,
Yes.
Commissioner Silliman.
Yes.
8 aye, 7 nay.
Thank you. The motion carries. A subcommittee will be, committee will be formed with Commissioner Silman as the chair for amendment proposal 2612. We'll now seek to confirm members of the committee, starting with the co-sponsors. Commissioner Klein, are you interested in serving on the committee?
Confirmed.
Commissioner Benton,
Yes.
Commissioner Jay,
Yes.
Commissioner Donnelly.
Yes.
Okay, there's room for 2 more potential members. Are there any other volunteers? Okay, seeing none, then the committee is formed. And Commissioner Simone, I'll make the same friendly admonition that 2 weeks from today will be the day before our meeting for your detailed policy form submission. Okay, commissioners, we will we'll have one more second reading, then we'll take a break. The next second reading, the chair is the sponsor. I will ask co-chair or vice chair rather, Haas, to please run this portion of the meeting.
All right. Can we get the timer reset? Thank you much. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you. Commissioners, this amendment proposal 26-20 sets term limits for county council. It's pretty straightforward. And so my presentation is also straightforward. Next slide, please. This amendment would set limits on county council service to 3 consecutive terms. It then would require a 1-term break before a candidate would regain eligibility. When considering eligibility, past, current, and partial terms would be considered, and it applies across all districts. In other words, a candidate could not move to another district in order to reset eligibility. Next slide, please. Why is this amendment being proposed? Extended incumbency reduces electoral competitiveness, which undermines public trust. Regular turnover can, in turn, strengthen public confidence and encourages fresh perspectives. And I'll point out that we have a unique perspective arrangement here in Clark County. We have considered, but we'll have deferred consideration of a change that would significantly alter the structure of county council service, Amendment 2603. That amendment by itself is not what prompted this, but it does influence the appropriateness of this amendment. The reason being that Amendment 2603, should it be approved, would significantly entice people to want to run for county council, which is a desirable outcome, but then also stay there. And this amendment would provide an appropriate counterbalance to that. I believe it's appropriate even if that amendment, though, were not to move forward. When term limits are discussed, there's often the discussion about how that interplays with elections. Do we not already have a form of term limits in the form of elections? I would suggest that elections can be thought of as who serves. Our term limits decide how long those people serve. Next slide, please. Why is this amendment structured as it is? Why 3 terms, not 2 terms? Quite frankly, I believe 2 terms are too short. I think 3 terms provide the appropriate balance between the accumulation and application of experience, coupled with the desired renewal of leadership. Why is this not applied to all county offices? I believe that term limits are most applicable to our county council. Why a one-term break? I believe a one-term break is sufficient to achieve the desired outcome. A longer break is not required. Why not a lifetime ban? I believe qualified candidates should be allowed to come back to service after they take this break. We're not looking to disqualify them beyond this 3-term limit. Why are past and current services being considered? It treats everyone equally. And we're looking to close a loophole by not allowing people to circumvent the requirement by moving. Next slide, please. This is a proven charter amendment that has been implemented in other counties. In Pierce County, they have adopted an amendment 2 consecutive terms. It applies to county council and their executive. In Snohomish County, they have 3 consecutive terms, but it applies to all offices. I believe Snohomish County had this embedded in their original charter, whereas Pierce County adopted it by amendment. So there have been multiple charter cycles that have come up since then that have never been reconsidered. Next slide, please. In summary, this amendment establishes a defined limit on consecutive service while preserving voter choice, allows for future service, applies uniformly across districts, and accounts for past and current terms of service. It's consistent with approaches adopted in our peer chair counties. It's popular with voters and is legally permissible. Now, commissioners, we received some documents from one of our members yesterday afternoon, and I appreciate Commissioner Holmgren sending those out. I've had an opportunity to discuss that with him. Those were sent to us after the deadline to submit our presentation. So my presentation didn't have a chance to address that. I've spoken with Commissioner Holmgren, and I've had a chance to briefly look through them. And so I have a response to them, and because it's not incorporated into my formal presentation, excuse me, but I'm going to read my comments. I do appreciate Commissioner Holmgren sharing the materials. They help inform the commission's deliberation and strengthen whatever decision we may ultimately make. I do agree with one of the points. Term limits can reduce, potentially, institutional experience if they are structured too tightly. That is real. This amendment is structured precisely to address that concern. I believe that this is a very moderate and appropriately balanced amendment. It's 3 terms, and it only addresses one branch of our county government. Now, some of the research that's cited in the documents that were shared, I don't believe is fully applicable. When compared to Clark County, those bodies that are considered, which are primarily state legislatures and even the U.S. Congress, are not directly applicable to Clark County. They're much larger in scale. They will operate in different environments, partisan elections, and much different terms of service. Those are very significant differences that I think should be taken into consideration in deciding how or if they have relevance to this discussion here in Clark County. I believe the more appropriate and applicable direct comparison to what we are considering here in Clark County is to look to our peer counties, Snohomish and Pierce County, who have done this very thing. I believe those documents also give the impression that all elections can be considered equally, when in fact, I don't believe that's true. Elections that have an incumbent materially function differently. We are seeing that play out locally. We have multiple races where locally there are no current incumbents, and we are seeing that reflected with the number and diversity of candidates who are now entering the race. Term limits are not anti-democratic. They do not produce worse government, and they are not counterproductive. Concerns about how term limits may affect behavior of an official in their last term of service are not new. We face that today when someone chooses not to run. If an official disengages or reduces their service in their last term, that is a commentary on their character and their service, not on the structure. Term limits are not a partisan issue. I believe that the discussion is not whether or not term limits are good or bad, but what is the correct form of term limits that is appropriate here in Clark County. Thank you, and I respectfully ask for your support.
Thank you, Chair. We'll start with questions. Mr. Chrisley, up there, you get passed over quite a bit or missed, so I'll start with you.
Thank you, Commissioner Haas. I actually didn't have a specific question on this one. So if anybody has questions, I would like to come back and I'll leave a statement, but no questions on this one.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Chrisley. Ms. Landsberg.
All right, so I'm going to ask the same question that I asked John Jay, which is I've lived in the county for 10 years. And so I'm wondering when, since we've been a county council, has there been someone that voluntarily ran for more than 3 terms?
Well, that's a fair question. And I think here in Clark County, we don't have enough data to be able to point to that. Our current form of county council government is only 10 years old.
Okay.
And so there hasn't been enough time to allow for that to run its course. This would allow people to serve for up to 12 years. Our charter is not 12 years old.
Okay, my second question is a procedural question, and that is, and it's for Evan.
Okay, can we come,
Figured out
we'll come
it's
back to
whether or
that
not-
because you have one question and I'd like to go around and
But
give
is
some
it
other people
legal
some answers.
for the 2 people who are running for office to vote on term limits?
Okay, I think we've talked about this earlier, haven't we? If we're going to propose a legal question to council, we can't expect an answer right there from them. We have to at least give them time to research it. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, but that means should we be voting today on this issue?
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gerber.
Thank you. So as the former Clark County Elections Director, I believe in the voice of the voter. If a county councilor is doing a good job, they get reelected. If they don't do a good job, they don't get reelected. To impose term limits on county councilors, you remove the ability of the voters to elect someone they would choose, but no longer can because they've met their term limits. Since 1850, there have been only 4 county commissioners that have served for more than 12 years, and only 2 since the 1900s. I'm just not sure what problem we are solving with this amendment, and I will be voting no.
Mr. Erickson, would you like to retort?
Well, I have great respect for Commissioner Garber and her perspective. Thank you for those comments. I would say that, again, we don't have enough data in Clark County to say that this is or is not substantiated. Term limits are appropriately applied and useful in Pierce County and Snohomish County. That is the data points that I think are most applicable here. I would also say, as I mentioned earlier, we are contemplating a very unique change to county council service environment via Amendment 2603. Should that be implemented, I believe term limits become very, very appropriate.
Okay, Mr. Ottakwame.
Thank you. Sorry. Just a quick question. Could you explain for us a little bit about why this amendment proposal is only targeting the term limits for county councilors, not the rest of the county executives as well?
It's a fair question. And I would say that I believe the county council is the branch of our county government that is most appropriate. It is the people's branch of government. That is where I think we want to have the most opportunity for renewal. I think that incumbency and the other executive forms of our county government turnover, while it's beneficial, doesn't rise to the same level of importance and priority as it does in the county council. And I would say that this is, as I mentioned earlier, this is a moderate proposal. This is a go slow, moderate proposal. It's 3 terms. It only applies to the county council. If we like what we see, the potential exists to extend it to other county offices like Snohomish County has done.
Okay, Mr. Chrisley, did you want to make your comment at this point?
Thank you, Commissioner Haas. I would just say that as a co-sponsor of this particular amendment, I read through Commissioner Morgan's information as well. And as Commissioner Erickson stated, it does cover more about legislative body. I feel like it is a very moderate proposal so that it allows to keep good experience on the council while not allowing people to make a full lifetime career out of it. And it keeps the people's voice still intact because that individual could still come back and run again if so desired and had the calling from the people. So I urge you to vote yes on this.
Thank you. Mr. Erickson, would you like to add to that?
I appreciate the support and I agree.
Mr. Holcomb.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody who took the time to read what I sent if they had the chance to. I appreciate you, Commissioner or Chair Erickson, for addressing those comments in your presentation. I will totally admit to the fact that, yes, much of the political science research is on legislatures that are much larger and have different behavior. But of course, we can work with the research is done based off of the data that is available. And it's actually a very interesting and deep area of research because there's lots of variation in the United States in the 1990s at the adoption of term limits in many states. And I think the findings are clear in that they change legislative behavior. And they change behavior in a couple of ways that are not necessarily addressed here, which is one, I think you did totally address that. It's like, yes, there's a possibility that if someone decides to not run for reelection, they will also neglect their duties. But there has been a finding that legislators who do know their term limited out spend their time seeking other office. They spend their time away from their office. They do less legislating and less work. I think the one that's maybe more interesting is that we find that it doesn't lead to more competitive elections. Instead, what it leads to is members serve for the amount of time for the term limits, and challengers then choose to run in open elections because they know an open election will come. So motivated, ambitious candidates choose to run after the term limit has expired. And I think that is something that we need to consider. There are a lot of unintended consequences with these types of reforms. And I just think that we should be very cognizant of weakening the legislative power in our county in comparison to those who have long-term interests in who are not going to be term limited out, either those who work in the county or those who work as lobbyists as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Holcomb. I will give Mr. Erickson here just a minute to retort, and then we call for a vote.
Well, I respectfully disagree, Commissioner Holmgren. I think we are seeing locally, in fact, the results of what turnover can look like and how it can benefit. Let's look at the auditor's race. We have a very diverse field of candidates, more diverse than we've had in the past. And I think it is a direct result of some turnover in that office. And although it is the result of retirement and not term limits, and it's for an executive office, not the council, the effect is the same. And I think we would see the same in the county council. So I do think there's value as far as like behavior patterns in the last term of service. You know, if that happens in the way that you're describing, I would say, again, that's a commentary on the behavior and character of the candidate and the official. And it's revealing, and they probably should be leaving office anyways if that's how they're going to treat their last term of service. So it's not a reflection on term limits themselves.
Thank you, Chair. Can we call for the vote, please?
Commissioner Araguame.
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly.
Aye.
Commissioner LeBrant.
Aye.
Chair Erickson.
Aye.
Commissioner Garber.
No.
Commissioner Hamlick.
Aye.
Commissioner Chrisley.
Yes.
Commissioner Landisberg.
No.
Commissioner Jay.
No.
Commissioner Klein.
No.
Commissioner Gasquet.
Aye.
Commissioner Holmgren.
No.
Commissioner Benton.
No.
Vice Chair Haas.
Aye.
Commissioner Silliman.
No.
Eight ayes, 7 nay.
8 ayes, 7 nays. So it passes. Okay. The bill passed to the committee. Mr. Erickson, you will be the chair of the committee. Mr. Araguame, do you wish to be on the committee?
Confirmed.
Mr. Chrisley, as a co-sponsor also, would you care to be on the committee?
Yes.
Ms. Gasquet, as a co-sponsor also, would you care to be on the committee?
Yes.
Okay, we have room for some more. Are there other people that would like to be on the committee?
Commission, I would like to be on.
Perfect. Mr. Holmgren on the committee.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Holmgren, for bringing that diverse perspective to the committee. Commissioners, I'd like to ask if there is a motion to take our final 5-minute break.
So moved. Adequate.
Second.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, seeing none, we will take a break. We will come back at 7:51. Commissioners, welcome back. Please find your seats. Commissioners, looking at the time, we have enough time to have 2 more second readings in today's meeting. It has been suggested, and I agree with it, that we change the order of the second readings. We will next hear a presentation on 2623 revised council powers regarding boards and commissions. We would then defer to the next meeting, 2609 and 2613, so that we have time to hear 2626, which is also related to public safety, so that should it advance to committee study, both public safety committees will have been formed on this at the same time and can potentially begin to collaborate and merge. The 2 commissioners whose amendments would be deferred to next week have agreed to that. Is there anyone who would be opposed to that modification? Okay. Commissioner LeBrant.
I think if there's a chance of them merging, that might be appropriate for the sponsors of those to make that merger rather than us sitting through a second presentation, if they're going to merge anyway.
Well, the hope, I think, collectively is that they will merge, but that won't happen unless we have the opportunity to see if the other public safety amendment is going to advance the committee. So for the committees to merge, we need to have some decisions around whether the committees exist or not. So by doing that today, we allow that process to begin. Okay, then we will proceed accordingly. We will defer 2609 and 2613 to next week. They will go first. Next, we will hear presentation on Amendment 26-23, revised council powers regarding boards and commissioners. Commissioner Alaguame is the sponsor. Are you ready to begin, Commissioner Alaguame?
Yes, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to try and be expedient in the interest of time. So this amendment would allow the council to have concurrent authority with the county manager to nominate members to all boards and commissions. Currently, there are 3 boards and commissions that they have concurrent authority to nominate. I want to be very clear. Nominate is different from appoint. They can currently only nominate to these 3 boards and commissions concurrently with the county manager, who can nominate to all boards and commissions. So the proposed language is to have them have concurrent authority with the county manager to nominate members to all boards and commissions except the Ethics Review Commission. More on that later. Small change, important principle. Next slide, please. So moving on, today they can nominate to 3 boards. With this amendment, they'd be able to nominate to all boards and commissions except Ethics Review, not taking any power away from the executive branch, just giving the legislative branch an equal voice. Why does it matter? Boards and commissions shape policy. The council is the policy-making body, so elected officials could hear from their constituents, make those nominations. They would still go through the same process and then be appointed or not based on the full council's recommendation. I do want to make a small update. Here it says the current list of 3 is arbitrary. I did get a chance to talk to the freeholders since this is a remnant from the 2014 charter. And This is because those three specific boards and commissions make quasi judicial decisions. What does that mean? That means that they have public hearings. They may have hearings which involve the rights of specific identifiable parties like land use permits, site-specific reviews, other variances, right? So that's why these three specifically are listed out. But moving forward, we want to make sure that they're able to have that equal voice in all boards and commissions. Next slide, please. Oh, we're already there, sorry. So this doesn't remove the county manager's authority, doesn't give them authority over the Ethics Review Commission, doesn't change the appointment process, doesn't do anything to the separation of powers. There's no new cost created. Let's advance, please. The exception for the Ethics Commission is specifically just because we want to make sure that we're insulating that body from any appearance of really anything that could be prescribed as an ethical concern with council nominating people to that body. And so just want to keep that sort of firewalled so that there's no appearance of, oh, well, a counselor nominates someone to the Ethics Commission who then later on finds them to be absolved of a complaint, right? So just making sure that that remains. So how do other counties handle it? King County, broad council role in nominations. Pierce County, direct appointment authority for vacancies over 90 days. Snohomish County, the council confirms the executive nominations, but they do have direct appointment authority for some boards, some bodies rather. And then in Whatcom County, the council's involved with a broad range of appointments there. And in Clark County, they can only nominate to the 3 boards. They still have to approve all the other ones that the county manager nominates, but these are the only ones they can nominate to. So that makes them kind of an outlier among all the home rule counties. So does it blur separation of powers? No, this is just about additional cooperation. It doesn't allow them to pack the boards with their political allies. They still go through the same process. This is purely just looking at having them be able to nominate people to serve in these volunteer capacities who they think are good fits. So why is it worth putting on the ballot? Obviously, there's a cost to that. I had 100,000 in here because that's what we'd heard in prior sessions. But this is just a permanent structural correction. It's an easy yes. It's just, should your elected council members be able to recommend people for county advisory boards, or should only the county manager be allowed to do that? So to me, this strengthens reform as the commission advances. If they create a new board or commission, let's say that there's a Clark County Space Commission for all, of all things, they wouldn't be able to nominate anyone to that board because it's not one of the 3 prescribed in the charter currently. So this is about giving them that future looking, forward looking ability to do what's needed and to make those nominations. Like every comparable home rule county has some sort of appointment authority there and nomination authority. So summary, simple change, pretty clear. It's consistent with peers. There's no cost impact beyond obviously the cost to put it on the ballot. So that's what I got. And take any questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Alacombe. Are there any questions? Commissioner Hamilton.
Okay, now I'm trying just to understand this whole, because you went really quick, which I appreciate. So what you're saying here is they only nominate to the 3 boards, but what this would do would give them the chance, they don't have to nominate anybody, but if they wanted to nominate, they could nominate someone. They could tell Kathleen Otto, I want to nominate this person for whatever board of fire or whatever you want to say. Is that what we're looking at?
So currently they can only nominate people to those 3 boards, the planning commission, I had it in here somewhere. There's the Historic Preservation Commission and the Board of Equalization of Assessment, right? Because those boards make quasi-judicial decisions. What this would do is allow them to nominate to any board. Those people still have to go through the same process, still have to be confirmed and appointed by the council, but it allows council to have an equal voice in saying, I want to nominate someone to this process.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair Haas, please.
I just want to clarify this at the bottom of your presentation here. It says we respectfully ask the commission to advance 2623 for placement on the ballot.
Sorry, when I was making the presentation, due to our tight timeline, it was a bit of a late one as I work pretty long hours when I'm not here. So obviously I just mean advance it past second
You
reading.
just want to move it to committee?
I just want to move to,
Yes, okay.
sorry. So
I just want to clarify that.
thank you for catching that. That's a very detailed high. That is not what I meant. So thank you.
Commissioner Landesberg, please.
Did you talk to any of the county councilors about this?
I did talk to one who very jokingly asked if I was trying to give them more work, but nothing requires them to nominate someone. This just gives them the ability to, if they were to seek to fill that role. So it's not posing any requirement on them. It's giving them just additional authority within their remit. And then when I talked to the freeholders, they said they only listed those 3 boards because those are quasi-judicial decision boards.
Commissioner Klein, please.
Thank you. Do you foresee that the current process for outside of nominating the 3 members that they're allowed to board, or the 3 people they're allowed to nominate to boards, does this change the process at all? And it doesn't prescribe a process. I suspect it just gives them the authority to nominate.
That is correct. This is not intended to change the actual process. We still want those people to go through the same interviews, still be confirmed by the whole council, right, and appointed by the whole council. This is about giving them the additional authority to say, I think someone should serve on the Parks and Advisory Board, so I'm going to go ahead and recommend them to that, as opposed to saying, well, I can't do anything about that unless it's Planning Commission, Historic Preservation, or Board of Equalization of Assessment.
Perhaps they'd have a qualified constituent that wants to serve in that capacity, and it gives them the ability. Okay. Yes. And they would be nominating within the window prescribed by the county manager.
Correct. No changes to process, just additional.
Thank you for the answers.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Jay, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Adegwame, for your second reading. I'm just curious, I really appreciate that you found out the freeholder reason why and illustrated that. And I'm very largely inclined to support this. I'm just curious, is this how Vancouver does their board appointments? I mean, they seem to be a little quicker than the county is, and I'm just trying to, because that's my main concern with the county board, because it does. When I was appointed to the Parks Advisory Board for Clark County, there was like a 7-month delay in terms of acceptance, and I did not experience that on Vancouver. And so I'm just trying to see if perhaps if we're inspired by Vancouver on the county side, perhaps we can get their more swiftness to getting people on the boards. But aside from that, I'm definitely inclined to support this regardless, but would be curious just to know if timeline wise, or if we expect for any delays beyond.
Okay, thank you. So I didn't specifically look to the city of Vancouver for inspiration for this, but I can just comment based on my own experience that I know that there's an Office of Boards and Commissions who deals with the intake there. And then that goes to a small group of the council who does the interview process, and then I think forwards that to the larger council. At least this is my experience as someone who served on a board or commission for the city of Vancouver in the past. So I can't really say what that does to timeline, because this proposal isn't meant to change process. If there's a change to process, I think that's something that can be discussed between council and the county executive, and they can come to what works for them. This is just about adding that additional capability for the council to nominate someone to go through this process. And so it's unfortunate to hear that it took 7 months to hear back on that, but ideally this just maybe speeds up the front part at least.
Perfect.
Commissioner Donnelly.
Yes, I'd just like to say that this is extremely logical, and I can't imagine even a single unintended consequence. So I intend to support it.
Thank you.
Commissioner LeBrant.
I also wanted to express some appreciation. There's a lot of different topics that get a lot of attention. This is one that is, almost clerical in nature, that I think is just an easy slam dunk that will nonetheless have a lot of really positive, I think a lot of really positive downstream impacts just in making things run smoothly, even though it's not something that grabs everyone's attention right off the bat. So thank you for doing the work to put this together.
Thank you.
I'll pose a question of my own. And I'm going to speak from my own experience also with respect to the County Parks Advisory Board. So in that instance, I went through an interview process. It was the then current members of the advisory board who I interviewed with. They made a recommendation back to the county manager. County manager didn't know me, but they took the recommendations of the members of the advisory board and essentially became a rubber stamp. So when we say, it's on the recommendation of the county manager, I think really in practice, it's based on the recommendations of the board members. So that with that background, what would be different between this amendment and a county councilor simply bringing to the attention a member of the public, hey, there's an opening on the board. Why don't you apply?
Thank you for that question. I think that helps contextualize the process for people. So currently, I think the application happens, and then the county manager would select from that pool and forward to the relevant interview body, right? I believe the intent of this is that the counselor could then select a person, nominate a person to the body, to the interview body, as opposed to having it weed through the other process. So they still end up at the interview and have to advance through the process, right? But the intake is a little broader, which allows us to hopefully have more engagement, more involvement, and just more avenues to service for people who care about their community.
Thank you. Commissioner Silman, do you have a comment?
I'll just add that I've privately commented on the thoughtfulness of this. I just want to publicly say I support it. It doesn't mandate counselor involvement in the process or to nominate, as Patrick said, but it does affect policy decisions, which is the responsibility of the council, and anything to get them more involved or get more supporters that they think would provide enlightened policy decisions. I support that. So just wanted to make sure I did that publicly.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, we will proceed to a vote. Jake, would you please call the roll, please?
Commissioner Araguame.
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly.
Aye.
Commissioner LeBrant.
Aye.
Chair Erickson.
Aye.
Commissioner Garber.
Aye.
Commissioner Hamlet.
Aye.
Commissioner Chrisley.
Yes.
Commissioner Landesberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Jay.
Aye.
Commissioner Klein.
Aye.
Commissioner Gasquet.
Aye.
Commissioner Holmgren.
Aye.
Commissioner Benton.
No.
Vice Chair Haas.
Yes.
Commissioner Silliman.
Yes.
14 aye, 1 nay.
Thank you. So it does advance to committee study. Commissioner Araguame will be the chair. We'll next seek to confirm membership of the committee. The co-sponsors are Commissioners Holmgren and Chrisley. Commissioner Holmgren, would you like to be a member of the committee?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Chrisley, would you like to serve on the committee?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, is there room for others who would like to volunteer? Are there any who would like to do so? Okay. Oh, Commissioner Garber. All right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, commissioners. We will move forward with our final second reading for this evening. As we discussed a few minutes ago, we will move to hear from Commissioner Donnelly on Amendment Proposal 26-26, Clark County's requirement to support public safety. Jake, if you could please reset the timer. Commissioner Donnelly, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please begin.
And I will say that I look forward to working with Commissioner Silliman because we're both going in the same direction with but there are some interesting differences. I would also like to say that this is not meant to sideline concerns about other parts of the public safety integrated whole, but that the jail and the public defenders issues are being handled in another venue. So let's start on slide 2. And this just emphasizes the role of law enforcement in public safety. It's essential. It's the first obligation of Clark County. effective, sound law enforcement is the base of the public safety pyramid. Without it, citizen rights are in danger and repeat crime has been shown to expand. With it, with ample law enforcement visible in our communities and on our streets, crime is more likely nipped in the bud and criminality to decrease. Law enforcement intervention on the ground can be the first hope for the mentally ill in crisis, as my own family experienced some years ago, where lives were saved and changed for the better. Let's go to slide 3. The urgent staffing need we now face dates back at least 14 years. I have a video of Sheriff Gary Lucas pleading for more staffing, saying that the sheriff's office could not staff more than one major incident at a time and that the public was at risk. Our current sheriff and staff have finally provided us with the incontrovertible data and, most important to us, a summary of the risks that we are taking. It is those clearly laid out risks that now demand a substantial solution from this commission. Going on to slide 4, the documentation. There are 2 methods that we draw upon: workload and officers per thousand of population served. Our shortage here is well documented in each of the 2 cases. For workload, mandatory overtime is up and all priority response times are down. Officers per thousand, however, is a quantitative measure that allows comparison from place to place and over time. Our statewide law enforcement agency, as Commissioner Silliman pointed out, WASPC, updates these data annually for every agency in our state. We do not try to compare Washington with Wyoming. That would be very difficult. As we will see, this measure provides quantitative evidence of a critical sheriff's office staffing shortfall, and it also provides for achievable targets to be set for improvement. Going on to slide 5. Here are some specifics from the association data spreadsheet from October 2025. Remember that this isn't the only evidence that we have of this urgent need, just the one that allows meaningful quantification. Start with the fact that the state of Washington is the lowest staffed of any state. Then go to the fact that the sheriff's office is less than half of that low average. This doesn't just severely impact unincorporated Clark County, which many of us around this table do represent. It impacts incorporated Clark County because those police agencies in those cities commonly rely upon the sheriff's office at their most dangerous moments. Slide 6. What do the actual deputies say? And if we care about our police, which we all do, should we not listen to them? Imagine a potential recruit considering joining our sheriff's office, reading some of these comments. Quote, "The job has gone from loving coming to work to dreading the lack of staffing." Quote, "A huge liability for both the officers and the agency." So true, and I would add that individual homeowners or other individuals needing help in the middle of the night in unincorporated Clark County, we are also responsible. They're at risk, and we're ultimately responsible for their public safety. Going on to slide 7, I look around our table and I see that each one here, all of us, are serving on important boards or have multiple boards. And what is our most crucial role there? I would submit that it is to keep that organization, whatever it is, out of dangerous risks from liability. In this case, it is the risk of life and property. Once we are informed that these risks exist, the liabilities expand. I offer the example here of the tobacco industry. They lost big bucks because they knew the danger and did nothing. I am making clear right here and now that we do know about this risk. This amendment would show that we are actively moving in the right direction. It proposes a practical, measurable, and achievable approach, and not just for now. It assures we won't sink below a reasonable target in the future. Going to slide 8, this is the actual language, and I'll let you read it. The target for funding is 85% of the statewide average for the state of Washington, to be achieved over 8 years. The timeline has been lengthened from when I started thinking about this approach to anticipate the verifiable criticism that the burden is too high, too fast. So the target isn't even average in the worst state in the Union, Washington. It is 15% below that, and it's over 8 years, which is a reasonable and moderate timeline. And it makes sure that we will never sink to this level again. Slide 9, how many officers is this? And then I'll get to cost. It ends up to be 15 officers a year for 8 years, totaling 120 in all. Thereafter, after the 8-year period, the supply would just have to keep up with population, whether that goes up or down. The council has already recognized this need by adding 23 more officers in 2025, and they are therefore headed in the right direction. But I believe we just need to set a firm target and a timeline for them to finish the job after all these years. Slide 10, the last slide, cost. This is very important. We all know that. Here are the current cost assumptions for additional deputies just supplied by the sheriff's office. First year, $233,000. Thereafter, $150,000, subject to 3% annual estimated inflation adjustment. So for the first year, the cost would be $3.5 million. Subsequent costs need to be modeled carefully and reviewed by various experts. So adding a total of 120 deputies over 8 years from the current 172 is spreading a 70% improvement, which we need, over 8 years. So it's roughly, you could think about a 9% increase annually for costs. That is a really rough estimate, and as I say, it needs to be carefully modeled. Sources of funding. They would be a number of them. The public safety tax, the general fund, the state legislature, grants, and it has to be an integrated approach. It has to be a broad outlook. And most importantly, a target and a plan and the political will are needed to solve this urgent problem. Final word, this is setting a minimal bar. It's not even average in the worst state in the union. And this is the county's #1 fundamental obligation. Thank you very much. Questions?
Thank you, Commissioner Donnelly. Is there anyone who did not comment on the last public safety amendment that has a question? Commissioner LeBrand, then we'll go to others who've raised their hands.
So speaking kind of to both, I have no disagreement about the need. I think the need has been communicated really clearly and definitely hammered home. I will say that the deputy salary is like one portion, and then piled on top of that, we've got the equipment, the vehicle.
The $233,000 includes the first year costs of all that.
Right, but in subsequent years.
Oh, in subsequent years, yes,
that
of course.
continues. And insurance and
yes,
ongoing training and that kind of thing. So I think the need is really stark and really well communicated. My concern is just really financial and just mathematical, which is this. If we go from say 0.64 per thousand or 0.59 per thousand, and our current county budget is 75% devoted to public safety. If we want to increase that to 1.16, just to pick your number, that's an increase of about 81%, and that gets us to 136% of the county budget. And so I'm wondering where that other 36% comes from. If we are currently under the constraint of the state, the state law being what it is. how do we get to 136% of the county budget? And I don't know what that answer
The
is.
sheriff's office is not 70%. Public safety is, but that includes public defenders, the jail, all of that. So, and I admit that financing is an important consideration, but to imply that 70% is entirely attributable to the sheriff's office is not correct. But I totally agree that money is important and money is a concern here.
Well, I'm not saying that it's attributable only to the sheriff's office, but we see all of these other links in the chain here strained with public defender shortages causing, we can throw more deputies at the problem, but it doesn't matter if folks just walk free. And so if we're looking at increasing that, if that's one link in the chain, but the rest of the chain, if we're going to also strengthen that to meet this goal, we're looking at 136% of the county budget. And so it's not to say that there's not a need. I think that's there. I think there's a much bigger discussion that we need to have around how do we fund that? Because it is egregiously low.
I understand. Good points. And I am very much encouraging the county to look into the public defenders situation. And I've heard an interesting discussion that makes me believe that that is a complex issue. The public defenders has to do with the number of people going to law school, the number who want to be public defenders, et cetera, et cetera. This is a crisp, clear problem, one that puts us at liability. Should an officer or a member of the public meet with a fatal accident after we know that this is an urgent situation, then that would be a very, very sad situation and very risky. So we need to understand that we've been warned. Thank you. Thank you for your good points.
Okay, Commissioner Jay, you did not make a comment on the last public safety amendment. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay, would you please proceed with a quick comment?
Yes. Just a quick comment for you. Thank you, Ann, or Commissioner Donnelly, rather. When we say funding shall remain funded officer positions at 85% or more of the most recent Washington state average per 1,000 residents published by the WASPC. I'm just curious if that would be the total average or if we would compare to like sheriff's departments, because there is kind of a different level.
It's the statewide average. So it's not just sheriff's offices. It's all law enforcement for the state of Washington.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Garber, please.
Thank you. So we have a budget deficit and we borrowed $1.8 million from our reserve account. Where will this money come from for this increase in deputies? What program will you take this money from? I will be voting no.
Commissioner Adegwame, and then Commissioner Landsberg, and then we will go to a vote.
Commissioner Donnelly, I just wanted to say this was well presented. It feels like a language I can understand. And if the intent here is well taken, and so I just want to understand, we've looked at the first year, the second year, and saying that future annual costs will be modeled through, but I would really love to understand where does the cost of living adjustment come into play? Where are some of the other factors like Commissioner LeBrant mentioned? I'm more inclined to support this given how detailed it is and laid out quite well. I just want to understand the data, right? And how this looks 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, and how this is actually attainable or not.
I started, just thank you for the question. I started to try to model it myself. And then I thought to myself, I'm just going to need to get expert modeling anyway. So why don't I put that to the next phase of things? Because I can do it myself, but then I'm just going to have to get it reviewed by those who model these same things, including some of the people that were here tonight. And maybe there'll be other sources within the sheriff's office that I need to inquire with. So I just didn't feel that it was appropriate for me to present the modeling far into the future. though I know that it's important to do that.
Thank you. I think maybe the percentage changes or something, but
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Donnelly. We're out of time. Commissioners, I know there's others who had questions or comments, myself included, but we do need to move to a vote. Jake, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Araguame,
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly,
Aye.
Commissioner LeBrant,
Aye.
Chair Erickson,
Aye.
Commissioner Garber,
No.
Commissioner Hamlet,
Aye.
Commissioner Chrisley,
No.
Commissioner Landisberg,
No.
Commissioner Jay,
Aye.
Commissioner Klein,
Aye.
Commissioner Gasquet,
Aye.
Commissioner Holmgren,
No.
Commissioner Benton,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haas,
Aye.
Commissioner Silliman.
Aye.
11 aye, 4 nay.
Thank you. That's passed to committee study. I noticed that no one had yet identified themselves as a co-sponsor. Can I ask Commissioner Silliman, Commissioner Donnelly, is your intent to in fact get together and look for a way to merge these two amendments?
I would look at that.
I'm amenable to that. So if we can try to work together, I think that would expedite it rather than dealing with two different amendments on the same topic.
Okay. In the event that somehow that does not happen, Commissioner Donnelly, are you interested in asking for members to join your committee?
Yes, I would be. Do we already have members for your committee?
Yes, the
Okay.
committee is set up with members. In the event that you guys were to merge, that may not be necessary for you to have additional members, but what I'm hearing is an aspiration that you may merge, but that may not happen, in fact. So I think we need to find out if you want to have a freestanding committee.
Are there any others who would like to serve on this committee?
That's the question at hand right now. So
Yes.
Commissioner Gasquet? Yes. Commissioner Haas? Okay. Are there any others? Commissioner Jay? Commissioner Benton? Okay. Any others? Okay. Thank you, Commissioners. Commissioners Donnelly and Silliman, if you could please talk, find out where you stand on that issue, and be prepared to report back to the commission at our next meeting where you stand on that issue.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioners. That concludes our second readings. We'll next move to our final agenda item, good of the order. Are there any topics for good of the order? Commissioner LeBrant, please.
Just a quick reminder, because of the time constraints that we're under, as we're going through these second readings, please try to constrain your questions. We'll still have an even longer chunk of time for committee debate when it gets past that point. So yeah, as we go through, let's please try to focus our questions.
Well said. Thank you. Any other comments, commissioners? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Commissioner Klein, is there a second?
Chrisley,
Commissioner
second.
Jay.
Second.
Okay, it's moved in second. Any opposed? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Just to clear it so.